Greetings, this is Amy Wentley with Chai Knuckles Knitting, and this is episode 2022-32, Rockin Rows Shawl, Increases and Decreases. So I'm working on the Rockin Rows Shawl. It is a pattern by Marina Behm, and it employs a couple of simple increases and a couple of simple decreases. So I want to show you how that works. So the pattern starts out by us casting on 2 stitches. So I'm going to just very simply, you can use any method that you like, I'm going to simply cast on 2 stitches. So here we go, here are my 2. And so the first instruction reads KFB, KFB 4 stitches. And so what that means is we are going to knit in the front and the back of the first stitch, and we're going to increase that stitch by 1, and we're going to knit front and back in the second stitch, and we're going to increase that stitch by 1. When we're done with this row, we will have 4 stitches. So here's how you work a knit front back. And I'll get a little closer for you. You're going to insert your right hand needle like you're going to knit that first stitch, and you are going to wrap the yarn around the needle to knit that stitch, and you're going to pull the stitch through, but you're not going to drop the stitch off the needle. You're going to take your right hand needle again and come around the back of the left hand needle. You'll insert your needle into the back of that same stitch again and wrap and pull through, and you will now see, you can drop off that stitch, and you will now see that it's 2 stitches. One of them actually looks like a knit stitch and one looks like a purl. So let's try that again. Knit front back. So we're going to start out by knitting through the front like we normally do, and we're going to pull through, but we're not going to drop that stitch off the needle. We're going to take the right needle to the back of the left needle and into the stitch, into the back of the stitch, wrap and pull through. So that is a knit front back, 2 of them. So we now have 4 stitches. So for the next row, I'll show you this again. We're going to start placing markers. And this marker that we're going to place is actually going to be a marker that's going to signal to us in the future that we are going to be doing a decrease. So I'm going to pick a marker for my needle that says decrease, and so I'm going to have that be orange. Okay, that tells me this is a decrease. So I'm going to have that sitting right here waiting to go on my needle. So the next instruction says knit front back. See how I did that? And then it says knit 1, and then it says place marker. So I'm going to take my marker that I decided was going to be my decrease marker and put it on there. Then I knit 1 again, and I knit front back, and then that at this point I have 6 stitches. In this project, it's going to be important for you to keep track of how many stitches you have, because you will be increasing in some places, decreasing in others, staying the same. So you always need to have an idea of how many stitches you have on your needle. So when I finish row 2 there, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn again. And this is row 3. So I'm going to introduce a decrease on this row. Row 3 says knit front back. So that's knit front, knit back. And then it says knit 2. That takes me right up to my marker. And then it says slip marker. So I'm going to go ahead and slip the marker, and that just means I'm moving it from the left needle to the right needle. So it stays on the needle before those stitches. And this, on a right side row here, is going to tell me that I'm having a decrease coming right after this marker. Or actually, it's on the front and the back. It doesn't matter, right side, left side. So the next instruction says SSK, and that's slip, slip, knit. Okay, so the way that I do that is I take my right hand, sorry about that, I wasn't doing anything, you didn't miss anything, sorry about that. So you're going to take your right needle and you're going to slip the first stitch as if to knit. So that means put your right needle in the stitch like you're going to knit it and just pop it off to the next needle. Okay, and you'll take the next stitch and slip it as if to knit. So that's the slip, slip part. Then you're going to take your left needle and you're going to put it in front of your right needle. See how I did that? I brought my left needle in, and instead of putting it in the back there, I'm bringing it into the front. Okay? Then I take my working yarn around the back to knit and pull it through those two stitches. And that is a slip, slip, knit. And I'll do that for you one more time. The last instruction on this row says knit front back, and it says I should end up with 7 stitches. So I will go ahead and knit front back here. And I indeed have 7 stitches now. So one thing I would like to do now is I just finished row 3, and I am going to call that a right side row because it's odd numbered. And I'm going to get myself another marker. I like to use the ones that pin. And I'm going to go ahead and pin this marker to the bottom of the shawl here now, just through a stitch or two, so that I know that this is the front of my shawl. Okay, if I'm back here, I'm on the back and I should be on an even numbered row. See, there's no purple marker there. If I'm looking at the purple marker down here, that means I'm on the right side and I should be on an odd numbered row. So I just finished an odd numbered row. I'm going to turn over and I'm going to work row 4, and that starts again with a knit front back. You're getting to see that a lot, aren't you? So knit front and back. Okay, and then knit 2, and then slip marker. So this marker here is just going to slip over to the other needle, and then it's SSK again. So just so you can see that one more time, I slip as if to knit, I slip as if to knit, I put my left needle in the front of the other 2 needles, the other 2 stitches on the right needle. So I bring it through the front here, take my yarn around to the back and wrap to knit and pull that stitch through. And then I knit 1 and I knit front back, and I should end up with 8 stitches. So I knit 1, and there you go. I knit 8 stitches. So that's how we start out, and that's pretty much how things proceed for a long time in this pattern. Later on, there are 2 other decreases. There's another decrease and another increase that you're going to run into. So let me go ahead and start. I'm going to start working this row, just not following the pattern at this point, just to demonstrate for you how to do a couple of these increases and decreases. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a make one increase. So this is just for purposes of the demo. You'll see this pop up as M1 in the instructions. And let me look here how she explains that. She says for I'm sorry, the designer has you do a make one by working up to the marker, I believe, and then she has you take the working yarn and actually just loop it one time over the needle and keep going. I don't particularly like that. I think it has a tendency to leave a hole, and you know, it's not my preferred method. So let me show you how I would make a make one. You can do it her way if you'd like, that's fine. But for me to do a make one, what I do is I pull my stitches apart. I've got one on the right needle and one on the left needle here, and you will see that there is a strand between those two. I'm going to take my left needle from the front to the back. I'll show you that again. I'm going to take my left needle and I'm going to come under from the front and put this stitch on my left needle, and see how it's oriented with the right leg in front. Okay, I'm going to then take my right needle and I'm going to put it through the back of the stitch because I want to twist this stitch, and then I'm going to wrap the yarn as if to knit and pull it through. My yarn split, I'm sorry. There you go. Okay, so that's how I do a make one. And I'm going to go ahead and come to the end of this row here too and show you another decrease, which is knit two together, K2 tog. You take your right hand needle and you put it through both of the stitches on the left hand needle from left to right like you're knitting, and you put them on there together, wrap the yarn around and pull the yarn through both stitches. So that takes 2 stitches and changes it to 1. Let me show you the make one increase and the knit two together one more time. I'm going to work up to my marker here. And then I'm going to look for the strand between the 2 stitches. Sorry, my yarn was a little tight. So here's the strand between my 2 stitches, right there. I'm going to take the left hand needle and I'm going to come from the front and under. Show you that again. I'm going to come from the front and under that strand. So that's sitting on my needle like that with the right leg in front. Then I'm going to take my right hand needle and put it in the back of that strand, and I'm going to knit it and pull it through. So that's the make one. And then I'm going to go to the end of the piece here, the end of this row, and I have 2 stitches at the end. I want to knit those 2 together. So I'll knit them, put my needle in as I'm from the left to the right, catching both of those loops, wrapping and pulling through for a knit 2 together. Okay, so those are the increases and the decreases for the Rockin Rows shawl. Thank you for watching. Come back again. Bye.